The air in the kitchen thickened, heavy with the scent of burnt toast and unspoken accusations. I stood at the counter, my fingers trembling around the handle of a chipped coffee mug, the one Sarah always teased me for keeping. Her back was to me, her shoulders rigid as she scrubbed a pan in the sink, the water hissing against the steel. The question had slipped out before I could stop it, raw and jagged, slicing through the morning's fragile calm. Did you go to Italy with David? My voice cracked, betraying the dread coiled in my chest. Sarah froze, her hands still in the sudsy water, the sponge slipping from her fingers. She didn't turn around. The silence stretched, sharp and suffocating, until it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. Her hesitation was a confession in itself, wasn't it? I wanted to scream, to demand she face me, but my legs felt rooted to the tile, the cold seeping through my socks. My mind raced, replaying the past 6 months. The late-night texts she'd dismissed as work, the weekend she'd spent visiting her sister in Chicago, the way her laugh had sounded different lately, brighter but brittle, like glass about to shatter. I'd ignored it all, hadn't I? Told myself it was nothing, that love meant trust, that doubt was just my own insecurity clawing at me. But now, standing in our kitchen, the truth felt like a weight pressing down on my ribs, making it hard to breathe. Sarah turned slowly, her face pale, her green eyes wide with something, fear? Guilt? Her lips parted, but no words came. She wiped her hands on a dish towel, the motion deliberate, buying time. What are you talking about, Mark? Her voice was soft, but it trembled, a thin thread of panic woven through it. I hated how familiar it sounded, how it still tugged at something deep inside me even now. Don't, I said, sharper than I meant. The mug clattered onto the counter, coffee sloshing over the rim. Don't do that. I saw the photo, Sarah. The one on your phone. You and him in some Italian square, laughing like you used to laugh with me. My throat burned, the words tasting like ash. I hadn't meant to check her phone. It was an accident, a moment of weakness last night when she'd left it on the couch, screen unlocked, a notification popping up from David. A photo, time-stamped 3 months ago, of them together in front of a fountain, her head tilted against his shoulder. I'd stared at it until my eyes stung, the image searing into my mind. Her face crumpled, just for a second, before she smoothed it over with that practiced calm she'd always been so good at. It's not what you think, she said, stepping closer, her hands reaching out but stopping short when I flinched. It was a work trip, Mark. I told you about the conference in Rome. David was there, yeah, but it was professional. We took a walk, that's all. Her words were too quick, too polished, like she'd rehearsed them in her head 1,000 times. A walk. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that echoed off the cabinets. You don't lean into someone like that on a work trip, Sarah. You don't smile like that for a colleague. My voice broke again, and I hated it, hated how small it made me feel. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. I wanted to rewind to yesterday, to the version of us where I could still pretend everything was fine. But the photo was a splinter in my mind, sharp and undeniable, and every word she said only drove it deeper. She crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. You're blowing this out of proportion. You always do this, Mark. You see something and you spiral. You make it into this big betrayal when it's nothing. Her voice rose, defensive now, but there was a flicker of something else in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or defiance. It made my stomach twist. Then show me, I said, stepping closer, my hands clenched at my sides. Show me the emails, the itinerary, anything that proves it was just a work trip. Show me I'm wrong. My heart pounded, each beat a plea for her to prove me wrong, to make this ache go away. But she didn't move. Her eyes darted to the floor. And that was when I knew. The air felt thinner, like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath me. Mark, she trailed off, her voice barely a whisper. She reached for me again, but I stepped back, the distance between us stretching into something vast and unbridgeable. It wasn't supposed to happen, she said finally, her words so soft I almost missed them. It was a mistake. A stupid, stupid mistake. The world tilted. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the counter to steady myself. A mistake. The word echoed in my head, sharp and cruel. I saw them again in that photo. Her smile, his arm around her, the cobblestone street glowing under the Italian sun. A mistake. Was that what she called it? Months of lies, of stolen moments, of her coming home to me with his touch still lingering on her skin? My chest burned, rage and grief tangling together until I couldn't tell them apart. How long? I asked, my voice low, dangerous. I didn't recognize it. How long have you been lying to me? She flinched, wrapping her arms around herself like she could shield herself from the question. It was just that trip, she said, but her voice wavered, and I knew she was lying again. It didn't mean anything, Mark. I swear. I love you. I've always loved you. Then why? The question tore out of me, raw and desperate. Why him? Why wasn't I enough? I hated how pathetic I sounded, how the words laid bare every fear I'd ever had about us. I'd always known Sarah was out of my league, brilliant, beautiful, the kind of woman who lit up a room. I'd spent years waiting for her to realize she could do better, and now here it was, the proof I'd been dreading. It wasn't about you, she said, tears spilling down her cheeks now. It was. I don't know. I was lonely. You were always working, always so focused on the firm, and David, he was there. He listened. She stopped, swallowing hard, like she knew how weak it sounded. It was a moment, Mark. A stupid moment. I ended it. I swear I did. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to grab her, pull her close, pretend this was just a fight we could move past. But the image of her with him, the ease in her smile, the way she'd looked at him, it was burned into me. I thought of the nights she'd come home late, her hair slightly mussed, her excuses too smooth. I thought of the way she'd stopped wearing her wedding ring last month, claiming it was uncomfortable at work. The signs had been there, hadn't they? I'd just been too blind, too trusting to see them. Get out, I said, the words tasting like bile. Her eyes widened, fresh tears falling, but I couldn't look at her anymore. I can't do this right now. I can't even look at you. Mark, please, she sobbed, reaching for me again. But I turned away, my hands shaking as I gripped the counter. The kitchen felt too small. The walls closing in. The air thick with her perfume and the weight of her betrayal. I heard her footsteps, hesitant at first, then quicker, as she grabbed her coat from the hook by the door. The front door clicked shut behind her, and the silence that followed was deafening. I sank to the floor, my back against the cabinets, the cold tile biting through my jeans. My mind churned, replaying every moment of our marriage. The late-night talks, the road trips, the way she'd curl into me on the couch. Had any of it been real? Or had I been loving a version of her that didn't exist anymore? The photo flashed in my mind again, but this time, I saw something I hadn't before. Her left hand, bare of her ring, resting on his chest. My stomach lurched, and I pressed my palms to my eyes, trying to block it out. The doorbell rang, sharp and jarring. I froze, my heart pounding. Had she come back already? Or worse, had David shown up, bold enough to face me? I staggered to my feet, my legs unsteady, and opened the door. A delivery man stood there, holding a small package. Mark Thompson, he asked, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. I nodded, taking the box, my hands numb. It was addressed to Sarah, but the return label caught my eye. A hotel in Rome dated 3 months ago. Inside, I knew without opening it, would be something small. A trinket, a keepsake, proof of a moment she'd promised was a mistake. I set the package on the counter, unopened, and stared at it. The truth was there, undeniable, but part of me still wanted to burn it, to pretend I'd never asked the question that shattered everything. I loved her. I hated her. And in that moment, I didn't know which was stronger.